I was at a networking event and asked a couple of questions during the presentation that I was giving. And if you've ever given presentations, I personally believe one of the most fun ways of doing that is less teaching. Maybe have a splash of coaching in there, but also, really committing your intended audience to engage and just be in conversation with you throughout. So I actually started my presentation with a couple of questions. No judgment, no shame, no guilt. Who in the room already is consistent with an exercise routine and or nutrition practices in line with a health goal? And about half the room raised their hands. So my follow-up question was for those people. What did they think made it consistent for them? What was the point of consistency? There were a lot of different answers. There was, people had previous exercise routines that they had good awareness around being able to pivot, depending on their health goals. A lot of people talked about, being really motivated to achieve, a specific result, like more energy following childbirth, or for better performance at work, or being able to do their life tasks better. But when I pushed a little further to ask them what was behind the motivation, because I brought up the fact that motivation isn't enough for everybody. What made it enough for them? They still couldn't define why it seemed to be enough for them to be able to build consistent exercise routines and nutrition practices, but it's not enough for other people. And I'm sure you've met people on both sides of this equation, the ones who really seem to have it, the ability to just meet a goal that they set for themselves, and those who don't. So what makes the difference? Let me introduce myself. I am Michelle Stubbs. I am a virtual women's wellness coach, certified exercise physiologist, nutrition coach, and a certified pre- and postnatal coach. I specialize in working with women who are aiming for weight loss, for fat loss, and they may or may not have a chronic condition or perimenopause in play. Sometimes people think that it's a lack of motivation or willpower or discipline that makes it harder to reach their goals. But if we take a real good look at the way our brain works, then I'll tell you, those who achieve their goals, those who meet their health goals, whether it's weight loss or fat loss, building more muscle so they've got more strength, whatever it is, time and time again, it's not motivation that does it, because motivation doesn't come first. It's, we're inspired by something, we can build motivation from that, but motivation doesn't come first. Willpower, at least our understanding of it, is a finite resource that doesn't hold up under pressure, like the pressure of life. And discipline, that's actually a byproduct of consistency that gets consumed in the fire of goal achievement. So it's not even discipline. So what is it really? What is it that thing is that sets women who are successful with their health goals apart from those who aren't? We're going to need to take a look at one thing specifically. And I know that we could talk about a lot of different factors here. We can talk about things like environment and a good support system and knowledge and information and where they are in their hormonal journey, in life, whether they've got kids or not, but the list is endless if we took a look at every single specific factor. And none of those actually determine success. We all know or have heard of people who have the success stories, even when they're the ones who seemingly have everything against them, and they're still successful with their goals. So what is it? What changes the game when it comes to any health and fitness goal? And I dare say, because I have worked with plenty of women who start their work with their health and fitness goals and are able to apply the exact same things to different goals, to their finances, their lifestyle, their household, their career, all sorts of different things. Most women think that their biggest challenge is going to be finding the right program or finding more willpower and motivation, or even sticking to habits long enough to see results. Here's the thing. All strategies are going to work if they're in line with what your goal is, which is why no one exercise program, no one diet, no one set of recovery tools or biohacks or whatever is going to make the difference for every single person. But the truth of the matter is that we will never behave in ways that contradict the identity we hold about ourselves. It comes down to identity. Henry Ford said, "Whether you think you can or can't, you're right." And we each have one specific tool at our disposal that we can use in conjunction with identity to achieve our goals. If we identify as busy or inconsistent, or if you're identifying as the woman who had the broken metabolism because of hormones, because of chronic conditions, whatever that is, your brain is programmed to pull you back into the patterns that are going to match that identity. Identity creates automatic behavior. And this is why how we talk to ourselves really matters. If you see yourself as someone who tries, you'll act like someone who tries. If you see yourself as someone who is committed, your actions will match commitment. Identity is going to win over motivation, and it will determine how you bounce back from setbacks, which matters a lot for those who deal with chronic conditions. Case in point, I have endometriosis, but I don't identify as someone that endometriosis defines, which means that I'm always going to be on top of managing my condition well. especially because there's always a possibility that I may never have to deal with symptoms of it again. As much as there's a possibility that I could have surgery in 2 months. When we're faced with the unknown, our brains are designed to start answering. That tool that I mentioned, that we each have, our imagination. If 70% of New Year's resolutions, and please follow my train of thought on this, but if 70% of New Year's resolutions are around health and fitness, that shows exactly how important health and fitness is to everybody. That's plenty of motivation, evidence of motivation. 92%, somewhere around there, 92% of New Year's resolutions fail. Probably mostly because people are trying to put habits in place that don't match the identity that they have. Imagine becoming the woman who follows through automatically, the woman who is committed to the result that you want for your health and well-being. When we shift our identity, we do it in our imagination first. It happens in our minds first before we see the results in front of us through our actions, through the actual results of our actions. We don't negotiate with ourselves. There are clear yeses and nos. Our habits are easier to implement and ingrain. Our choices become simpler. Things we do where we're self-sabotaging ourselves, they become practices we used to have. We follow through even on the busy days, even if life throws stuff at us, because we can imagine ourselves as the person who has achieved the result that we want. Fat loss becomes a byproduct. Strength increases. Energy stabilizes. Our body responds to our identity. It's psychology, it's physiology, it's behavior change science. We cannot outperform our identity, but we can upgrade it. So I want to offer you the first step that I give any of my clients, which is a complementary health strategy audit, where you and I will sit, take a look at your current identity-related behaviors and patterns, map out the kinds of behaviors that match the identity that you want so that you can achieve the result you want. And we'll uncover 1 to 2 probably previously invisible blocks holding you back and create a simple and personalized strategy that you can start implementing immediately. You get to leave that call knowing exactly what identity shift you need to make. And I know that doesn't necessarily sound like as glamorous as just simply diving into a new diet or a new exercise program. But in 3 months, what's the likelihood that you'll actually see the results that you want by doing it the way you already have? That didn't work. Wouldn't it be great just simply to know that you are actually on the right track for what it is you want? This is why I offer these health strategy audits. So, in the description of the video is the link to my call calendar. for that specific call. It's a complementary call. We'll discuss where you are, what's going on, and where you want to be. And I'll get you some things you can implement right then. And if it is appropriate at that time, where you would want to know more about the way I work with my clients, we can talk about that. I cannot stress to you enough how simple the process can be when we let it be. Identity is the critical factor in whether we see success or not. And I will catch you around.